Welcome everybody again to another Fresh Start Alumni webinar. As always, it's wonderful to be here with all of our friends and at this point family and reconnect. It's an honor to have Rabbi Russell all the way from Eretz Yisrael with us this week or this month. So we're looking forward to that. A couple of household items. Reminder everybody that this is going to be recorded. It will be put on YouTube audio. The audio part only, no faces will be shown except Rabbi Russell's. So we always encourage live questions. If not, you're welcome to message us and email, text message, WhatsApp, and we'll ask the question on your behalf. I would like to take a moment though. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, there we go. So, again, to everybody who just joined, welcome again. Today is going to be a very sort of open discussion, Q&A. If you want to ask a live question, just go in the chat and just let us know. We'll call on you. If you want to text us, go ahead. But Rabbi Russell, I think, is there any starting out thoughts, divrei chizik you have before we sort of jump into the questions? Or you just want to go straight to the jugular? What do you want to do?
If the questions are ready, I think we should go straight with the questions and not waste time.
Then let's do this. Primit, I think you had a live question that you wanted to ask. Are you there, Primit?
Yes, I'm here.
All righty, so go ahead, Primit.
Hi. First, thank you, Rabbi Russell. I listened to a lot of your lectures. It resonated a lot with it. I always say I want you to adopt me as your daughter because I wish my father would be as attentive.
Thank you.
So,
Jochen, can I see you speaking? Is that okay?
Yeah, do you have your camera on?
yes.
I have my.
Oh, no, but
Yeah,
Primit, is your
on.
camera on? Where is it?
Yes, my camera is
I'm
on.
going to remove the spotlight.
There you go. Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
Right.
fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you for the compliment.
You're welcome. So my question is, I have 4 kids, Baruch Hashem. My daughter is my 3rd child, but my 2 older boys I don't have this issue with. I grew up very Hasidish, and I moved out of my community. I changed my lifestyle. So I'm learning a lot with the modern community. And I told my daughter as she's growing up, we're going to learn this together because a lot of things I don't know how to do and how to be about. So she's in a school that's not co-ed, but the boys, there are boys in the same school. They go on the bus together, but they're separate classes. So when she was 12 and 13, she started liking boys, and I was never exposed to this thing, having a boyfriend or whatever. So it was, new. Now she's 15, turning 16, and she has a boyfriend. Like she's in love with the boy. They love each other, and the 15, 14-year-old scale. And I need a little bit more. I need more guidance. I had a conversation with the boy's mother. She hangs out a lot by his house, and they are she's watching them, and there's no closed doors and this and that, but they went off camera, they were making out, whatever. She got very upset, and she said, my daughter has to go home, I have planned to pick her up. And we had this conversation. She said for a while she doesn't want them to see each other. I said, look, I personally think that the more that you're going to keep them away, the more they're going to find a way to see each other. I think we should be open with them, have a conversation with them, and talk about the safety and everything. And she's on the same page with me. I feel like kids this age, they will they're smarter than us. They'll figure out a way. And I'm also very open with my daughter. I talk to her about everything, but I want to know how to approach this in a way that's healthy, with healthy boundaries for her to be safe, for him to be safe. I mean, there's the little kids. For them, this is the world. And I need more guidance, how to go about this without messing things up. And
I mean, the truth is, given the culture of the community you live in, what they do, it sounds like what they're doing is normal. Is that correct?
Yes and no. There are kids probably. I mean, I don't know what normal is.
I mean, you said you'd moved from a Hasidic community to a more modern community where boys and girls mix, and Kodesh Baruch Hu made it, the boys and girls like each other. That's why there are those communities who try to keep them away as long as they can from each other, because it's only natural that boys and girls are drawn to each other. I honestly would recommend you find someone, a mentor in that community you're living in, who knows what's appropriate boundaries, what's normal, what's reasonable. There's no way you could possibly know coming from outside the community. And the danger, I'll tell you the danger, and this is true for all of us, the danger is imposing what we would wish for, where our children are in an environment where they're experiencing what is normal for their environment, and what we're trying to do is stop them, can really hurt your attachment with your child. And in the long run, that's the only thing that's going to keep your child safe and happy in the long run of life. So before I do anything, I would find someone you trust in your community, someone respected, trustworthy to you. So not extreme, but someone who understands the nature of the community. I would learn what is normal, what is reasonable, and when it's normal and reasonable within your community, so then you can talk to your child, your son, right? It's your son?
My daughter.
Your daughter. You could talk to your daughter about reasonable boundaries. But if you try to impose external boundaries that are beyond the norms, you could end up doing the damage of ruining your attachment with your child. And that's worse. That's actually worse. So
Right, but I
first,
think like first I don't know somebody that I respect in my community. I have to find, I guess, someone,
you
but
shouldn't live there. Forgive me, can I be very brash and bold? You shouldn't live in a community, any one of us, where you don't respect anyone in the community who you can trust. There's got to be some
I don't live
respect.
in a community. I don't live in a community. I live in the place where I live right now is in a very Hasidic area, but I don't belong there. It's like
So you find the best person you can who understands the norms of where your child is going to school, of where your child is mixing socially. You need to find someone there who can guide you on what is normal. Because if you go too extreme, well, you don't want to go too liberal, that's obvious, you want to protect your child, but you also don't want to go too extreme. And I can't tell you based on the community. I know you need someone there. I would put your effort and energy into finding that person as quickly as possible. You need a mentor. You need a mentor. You know, I've said this many times, if I can digress for other people, like if any time you move into a community that has different religious standards of where you've grown up, which is, you know, very common in like Hasidish moving into a more Litvish or a more modern community, Bali Tshuva moving into a very frum community, you always need a family mentor, someone who you can go to in confidence and just get guidance. What is the norm in this community so you don't overreact? Okay?
yeah, okay. Thank you.
I would do first. Maybe if you get that first, on the next webinar I do, you could ask me specific questions. But get that first, because you need that before you can move.
A mentor is not a therapist, right?
No, it could be just a nice person. It could be a mother. It could be anyone. It could be someone who lives in the community who you respect as a stable, balanced person who can guide you on what are the norms of that community.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very
Okay.
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Primit. I think Akiva, you wanted to ask my question?
Yeah, I don't know if it's too much for kind of this scope, but one of the things that was a very big part of Fresh Start was, this is a fresh start. We're just kind of giving you the tools and the trajectory of how to do things. We didn't get a chance to really do that too much from the religious trauma perspective. What would you say, like some of the how would you define or give some guidelines to that trajectory of healing from the religious trauma? We talked about, other kinds of traumas, family trauma, etc., and did different work in the rooms, etc. But what would you recommend for religious trauma?
Well, religious trauma in this sense, identifying it is always the problem, to recognize that's what you have. Because it's so easy to play head games with yourself that just, this isn't working for me. And that's what we do. I don't like this is boring, this I find, I don't like it, I feel pressured, etc., etc. That's head games. It's finding the source, going back to understanding what happened to me. And then doing the work to understand there is a part of me which is not me, but there's a part of me that protects me. It's genuine, it's real, it's like any other part that I have that helps me with any adverse childhood experience. And there's a part of me that protects me because at that time, when I was a child, the way I was treated was so abusive and hurtful, or I was so incapable of really cooperating with it. I wasn't able to do it for whatever reason. So I protected myself by adapting to the situation. And there are parts of me that still remain there. The question is, are the same issues still prevalent in your life? And they almost always are not in trauma. It's PTSD. I'm having an experience now that's reminding me of that experience I had when I was a child. The same thing with religious trauma. So a really good start is when you feel it, to start journaling about what is it I'm feeling, and see if you can go back with your therapist and explore what happened then. What was that about? What was that experience about? In order that you can ultimately unblend yourself and ask yourself, so is that experience that I'm having a memory, a nervous system memory of that experience, is that actually happening now? Or am I feeling it is? Which one is it? So when it happens, you feel it, whether it's like pressure walking into shul. A lot of people just walk into shul, or the rabbi starts giving a drasha and you go crazy in your head, right? Or especially if he starts telling you halachas, the house, there you go, there's the smile. You hear certain halachas, you go crazy. It's all sorts of, it could be so many different things. I know I sit in shul often, I watch the rabbi speak, I'm sitting at the front next to the rabbi, I'm looking around at what's going on. I can see all the people getting triggered in shul. I mean, it's so obvious they come around as it's going. So what you want to do if you want to recover, you can recover from this like every other trauma. And the way you recover is when it's happening, see if you can journal after Shabbos or when it's happening, journal about it, take it to your therapist, see if you can work out what was the experience, what happened. How did I adapt to that now? In other words, what's the child part of me that's seeking to protect me even now? So then you can start doing the unblending work by asking yourself, so is that really happening now? Or is something happening now that's reminding me in my nervous system of what happened then? And then you can start the unblending work.
When you say what's happening now, I mean the physical, for me at least, I call it pass out because it's not falling asleep. It's just like my eyes start rolling into my head and it's
So what is it? Which piece of religious life? For example, there are definitely pieces of religious life, I'm certain, that do not do that to you. You do not pass out when you put on a yarmulke.
right.
How do I know that?
I'm wearing the yarmulke.
You're wearing a yarmulke and you're not passing out. So there's certain religious things that simply don't trigger you in the same way, and other things that do. When they happen, I do with my clients, I like to encourage them that when they have that pass out or anxious, usually it's a really deep anxious experience, see if you can work out what's the trigger now in order to go back to what happened then. Then we can understand what happened then, and then we can come back to the present, and we can start actually shifting it out. You understand? So we want to know, the top-down work here would be understanding what happened then. Based on the present experience, you go back with your therapist to understand what the storyline was, what happened to you then. So you really understand what happened and how that same inner child, that same part of your nervous system is trying to protect you right now and make you shut down because it's scary. Once you identify it's then and not happening now, so then you can start the unblending work and separate yourself from that knowledge experience. And there's many ways, whether it's EMDR, IFS, somatic experiencing, there's so many ways you can do it, whatever works for you. but the goal is to unblend from it so you can look at it, separate from it, and then when it happens now, acknowledge and know that was happening then, but it's not happening now. It's a memory. Okay, does that make sense? So every time, see if you can journal the moment when it happens as quickly as you can, or voice note yourself. Take that to your therapist and process, I wonder where that started. Well, and there's usually a rich number of stories for where that started, which you need to talk out and process. So then you can come back to really doing the work now, which is separating from that, acknowledging that was then, not now, and then refreshing your body. And there's a number of ways of doing that.
Right. So
Okay.
usually that will happen on Shabbos. So
Right after Shabbos, do it. I have many clients who right after Shabbos, they sit down and they journal and they bring that stuff into therapy and we talk about it.
any just last question, any advice? There are certain things that I'm not doing now while working on the trauma since Fresh Start. Not so much regarding the kids, but specifically with my wife, it's very hard for her. Any thoughts, any advice, any suggestions?
I get it that it's hard for your wife. The kids are aware, they notice, or you keep it private.
For the most part, private. My older kids see it more. My older
I
kids
would
we've
be
spoken
honest.
to about it.
I would be straight up and honest with them. If this is your truth, if it's your truth, that look, I went through trauma. I have a very difficult time with this. It is not my desire to stay this way, and I'm working on it, and God willing, I will get over it. I think just be transparent and honest with everyone. Most people, when we own our truth, people around us seem to have compassion for us. And
Are there
understand.
things that, specifically with my wife, are there things that I should do because it's important to her? Let's say going to shul Friday night specifically, I'll show up the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes of shul, and it really stirs her. So like, should I go early to?
Should, I almost hear the question, should I torment and trigger myself in order to make my wife happy? I don't know, that's the personal question. If you could go knowing I'm doing a different mitzvah, I'm doing a mitzvah of being mechabed my wife, and focus on that, not the mitzvah of going to shul. I'm going to shul to be mechabed my wife, because I bet you being mechabed your wife is meaningful to you. That's very meaningful. So when you go to shul and you're in shul, perhaps create a narrative in your head. I'm just using shul right now to be mechabed my wife. I'm doing that and see if that works for you, rather than I'm being banished. I mean, banished by my wife and re-triggered with all my, I'm with my father again, yelling at me at shul. Here we go again,
Right.
No, don't do that. On the contrary, I'm making a conscious decision that's mature, thoughtful, and focused to be mechabed my wife and support the kind of family we set out to produce. I'm doing this for her. I think HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be extremely positive, in my humble opinion. If not, when we get up there, call me in. Call me in.
I'm
Okay?
gonna take you up on that one.
Call me in. I'll come be made that you did it l'shem shemayim and la'aniyas dati. Honestly, if I was God, not only would I give you a pass, I'd give you extra credit. I'd give you extra credit. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay, thank you, Akiva. Elle, you have your hand raised. I'm not sure, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Go
I
ahead.
missed the introductions. I don't know what you can ask here, not ask here, but
It's open-ended. It's open-ended. Anything related to chinuch.
Try and make it to do with
no, so it's actually particularly something. So that book we got when I went to Fresh Start, and you mentioned when a lot of things. I mean, often when you speak your book, I can't remember what.
My book. Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
And then you mentioned the speech case, not only so complimentary this, the speech in Manchester you mentioned. And when I listened to her, then when I got around to it, I listened to you on YouTube when you spoke, and it answered a lot of my questions. Okay, of not nice comments I've had from people. You're very clear.
You had not nice comments?
Yeah, and I'll go now. I wondered, the people are saying, but I went Rabbi Russell's this, so why are they so stupid and dumb? And I hope it's okay that I'm just speaking bluntly. So you're very clear that you
watch my face and you'll see if I'm okay.
Okay, now I'm not talking about you. I'm okay. So I'm not talking now about. So you were very clear that you were not talking about the scary, stranger, danger kind of thing, and you're talking about children playing within children. And the problem, and you spoke about, and as a survivor, it was very hurtful because it kind of downplayed the most prevalent abuse, which is within the family.
I don't know if you were there at the introduction of the evening before, but it was specifically about what I spoke about. That's what they wanted. They didn't want to talk about the other subject.
No, I don't think you should. You were very clear throughout the speech. You said, or maybe it was then, but I remember you were very clear that you're not talking about stranger danger kind of thing.
They didn't want me to do that.
What?
The Rabbanim asked me not to do that.
Not to do what?
Speak about stranger danger.
No, I don't mind that you didn't. But what you spoke about and the effects was you mostly spoke. No, people spoke other things. The most focus is how it affects you on Yiddishkeit level, while some people are affected terribly, not at all on a Yiddishkeit level. But what I understand that, and you're very specific. No, I don't mind that. Is that it wasn't clear to the random idiot on the street. So they're not idiot. They're just ignorant. That there's difference between within a family abuse and child's play. So often, let's say people knows that I'm the survivor, and when they hear it's a family member, oh, that's just child's play. Now, it's not. There's a big difference between children. What I say to people, what's the difference between an adult, let's say 40-year-old people being raped or having an affair? And the difference is consent. And the same thing as with children. Yes, it's maybe affected them, but when there's consent and not, and that was not when someone's brutal. If a 15-year-old boy takes a 5-year-old girl or 5-year-old brother and brutally and is violently and abuses them and whatever, rape or whatever it is people listening to you afterwards, oh, but that's child's play. And no, most children, I think I'm correct in saying most children mess around with other children with no consequences. Most children do. I think most children mess around.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Forgive me.
Yeah.
Is there a question that you're leading up to?
Is that it is okay for that there's a difference between child's play. That was about child's play.
Okay,
that wasn't. I'll tell you what.
I think, Rabbi Russell, I think she's looking for some clarity to clarify that there is a difference.
Is that when it's too bad that's spoken us on YouTube, but people listen to it and people hear, oh, they're abused within the family. That's child's play.
I mean, I didn't say that. So where do they?
You know, but people do take from it's because it was a lot of the examples you gave were child's play examples. It wasn't violent, and the people. I'm not saying it's your view, but most people I feel can't see the difference between when somebody you called it you called child's play sexual abuse, and I'm not saying no one's affected by it.
I don't think I ever said the word child's play ever.
No, you might not have used it, but you described it. And it's a big difference.
Okay, I get it. So what you're saying is next time I should give a course to cover all the details.
I mean, some people idiots. No, I don't know if you can always help. People always take from it what they want. I'll be honest, yeah. I was telling somebody I was abused by my sister. She goes, yeah, that's why we keep our boys and girls in separate bedrooms. And I said I was abused.
I'm sorry that I don't fully understand. I hear
this question. Okay. The thing is, the difference is it's very hard to get it, but I want there to be I don't know how distinct difference between 2 10-year-old children experimenting consensually with each other, yeah, which is a lot of what you're describing, and is not the same as a 10-year-old.
I don't think I did do that. I don't think that was what I was describing. That was maybe a tiny part. That wasn't it at all. It was older siblings to younger siblings when I talked about siblings. I'm sorry. I'll listen to it again. I'll do you a favor, Neda, and I will listen again. But I don't think I was describing what is normal siblings who can fall around and it doesn't mean anything. And they move on.
You described kids messing in the toilets, and kids do.
So you would like me to draw more attention and distinction in the future between what would be child's play and what is abusive?
Maybe, yeah, and always somebody, I guess, will be hurt, but I feel that, when you're affected as a survivor, then it's sibling means, I don't know how to, I don't even know if I'm explaining it right.
Al, I would just chime in and say that I don't know that there's much that anybody, including Rabbi Russell, can do
I
to
mean, I've
help with
accepted it now.
ignorance and lack of sensitivity. Because if anybody listened to more than 2 speeches of Rabbi Russell's, maybe not one, maybe I'm just being made the judger, but I think this is, from what I'm hearing, I think this is more just about, and maybe Rabbi Russell, maybe I'm going to turn this around a little bit into a question. When a survivor does get that kind of feedback and it's hurtful, where they're not understood, or people put it down or undermine it or underestimate its impact, what can somebody do internally to help them?
Yeah,
That seems
I've
to be.
learned not to care. Yeah, I've learned that just they're going to be that way, and you can't care.
But that's probably not the truth, because otherwise you wouldn't have brought it up in this discussion. So I think you do care, and it does bother you, and that would be the
And
normal
it definitely
reaction.
did. Yeah.
Okay, so let's well, that's what we're going to take from your thing. So Rabbi Russell, is that a question that you can help give some hadracha to?
No, I tell you what, Ahmed, do you mind if I say that I did feel that it was very misleading. I listened to it, and I'm only saying this because I want to say the truth. I feel I'm horrible saying this, but I felt it was very misleading. It downplayed it.
So I'm hearing you, and I really don't know. Maybe privately some other time I could try and understand how, because I will tell you the feedback from the rest of the world was.
I don't have the picture of that.
It's world famous. People do, yeah. So I just.
So I would say what Yochanan is really saying is probably the real issue here. And the real issue is, if someone degrades you, someone puts you down, someone talks to you by in some way diminishing the impact of sexual abuse on you, then I think you need to be able to respond in a healthy way to that person. It's less about this video, but it's more about yourself responding in a healthy way and letting them know if they say something hurtful, that you've said something hurtful to me, and if you want to be educated fully, I'll be glad to educate you. And just let them know that and leave it simple.
Yeah, although I don't want to have to do that education, but yeah, I understand.
If you want to, I'm just saying, if it bothers you that much, that's probably what I would recommend, is you simply tell them that what you've said is extremely hurtful, but if you're really interested in knowledge, in education, in understanding, as hard as it is, I'd be happy to give that to you. That's
right. Right.
Okay. I do want to move on because we have a list of questions here. So let's.
So I did want to add, I guess I can't something very, very different, or not really.
Let me give some other people opportunities, and let's see if we have time, and then we come back. We try to keep moving. ZC, are you there? ZC, as in Z. There you are. ZC. Go ahead. Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay, so my question is referring more to the first question, maybe not the first, the second. Primit, I think was her name. So she was talking that she's confused religiously in her community where she is. My question is more, I am in a very Hasidic community and I'm living the Hasidic life. And I do feel that I see a lot of things that are not the way they should be. My schools, my kids' schools, my husband, in a way, my community all around me is very, very stuck in this, I would say, like being busy with a punishing God, and this is the way we teach our kids. And it hurts so much, and I'm really changing my whole view of things and everything. My question is, how would I know how much of my responses and things is trauma, and how much of it is realistically our community is struggling in that area? And yes, there's a realistic struggle in our place of just being very stuck in a certain narrow view of how Hashem is.
So, to say with your specific story, how much is trauma and how much is actually happening around you. I don't know you well enough to comment on that. It's obviously a mixed batch of both. However, having said that, if we look at the entire Orthodox community, the whole world, everyone is becoming more sensitive to trying to attune themselves everywhere. Every single community I see is becoming more and more aware that change is necessary in how we attune to kids, whether they like it or not. The system that helped us survive the Holocaust, that helped us replant Judaism and make it authentic and real, which worked for recovery, it worked, is simply becoming, everyone is becoming more and more aware that that exact identical system will not provide continuity. It provided recovery, but not continuity. And the way I see it, we're doing, all of us, and you too, join us. Like everyone, I'm serious, every parent who has the sensitivity to be able to stay grounded, that's the trauma piece, so that you don't overreact, and you go into your school and you give them information. I mean, I'll tell everyone, listen to this, the most amazing thing. Have you read my book, Raising a Loving Family? So believe it or not, there is a kollel in North Miami Beach this summer that bought 27 books of mechanchim, the all mechanchim, who finished the teaching for the year and took the summer to study the book and see if they can work out how to bring those ideas into the classroom. The whole kollel is studying 27 books they bought to study it this summer. I was so blown away. I don't even know the people. I don't know who they are. I just heard about it. I know that one thing is happening everywhere, that the more grounded, sensible people who are experiencing the lack of attunement to their children, which is exactly what we're all experiencing. And it's not deliberate that there's some Rishoyim out there trying to hurt our kids. They're simply following a path which they didn't know or work out yet how to shift. And everywhere I go, and I mean everywhere, I was in Stamford Hill in London a few weeks ago and met with, I think, 15 different meisters. And every single meister, the Chassidische meisters, were so eager to try and learn something new of how to attune with today's children. So I would say to you like this, if you're experiencing it, I mean, what can I tell you? It will be the greatest delight to know that you contain yourself, you work out how to separate from your own childhood trauma, ground yourself, breathe it through, get clarity of what you want to say, and see if you can go into the schools or talk to the mechanchim. Find listening ears somewhere. Don't sit back, but find listening ears and get other parents doing the same thing. There is a movement. No individual parent can do this, that you'll just get swallowed up alive. But the more of us that are tuning into this and becoming aware of the need for attunement to our children, there is a movement happening out there. It's actually happening. I see it everywhere I go, that there's more and more interest. So I think if we come, not to bash them, but to realize they're doing the very best they can with what they have, but to come to try and educate them, to give them information about how to get the same job done in a way that's attuned to the kids so they can have the optimal experience. Well, that's what we have to do. That's the job today. That's the job.
That's very worked up when you talk about religious stuff. Religious things just brings out a lot of it. And anytime I start speaking about it with my friends or people around me, I just feel there's so much fear and letting go of the old ways and just letting go and re-shifting and refocusing, because like, you're not going to tell your daughter not to wear socks when she's 10 or 11 or whatever.
So find a way.
There's so much resistance to what I have to say. It just feels very lonely.
Listen, if you can ground yourself first, if you can do the grounding and breathe through it and get yourself connected in a healthy way, where you get the ideas, you work through the ideas without the emotion, I think we're making changes. I think there are real people who are really doing that, who collectively are making real changes. And maybe it'll take us 10, 20 years. I don't know. But you know what? If we all work at it, changes will happen, and they are happening. And we just got to keep at it. I applaud you for it, and I hope that you can do that grounding work on yourself so that you can bring the ideas and let them speak for themselves.
Thank you so much. I listen, I think, to all your speeches all the time. It really helps me ground myself, as you say.
Thank you. But you don't realize how powerful you can be. You don't realize. I'm watching everywhere where parents are taking the information. If you get yourself grounded and talk and keep talking, and the more parents that keep talking, the more change is going to happen. It's not going to happen from the outside. There are no gedolim out there who are like looking to change the system. They're looking at Klal Yisrael. They're just not going to do it. It's going to change from within, from parents speaking up. That's where it's going to come from. I'm convinced of it.
So much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you, ZC. Okay, so this question just came in. I have a 16-year-old son in camp now, and part of the rules are that he cannot have his own cell phone or MP3 player. Every time he calls, he tells us that he needs us to bring him his phone and MP3. There's a good chance if he gets caught, he will be sent home. He was sent home from camp 2 summers ago for different reasons. We keep telling him we know he will make a smart choice. Seems like he made up his mind, and he wants it in any case. He was out of yeshiva as well, and they took him back this year on trial. So once he gets kicked out, there's a chance they won't let him back into yeshiva as well. Do we let him have his devices? He claims he needs it to fall asleep. He likes to listen to shiurim, otherwise it's hard to fall asleep. And it's frustrating that he doesn't have his own phone and can't call home whenever he wants. A 16-year-old boy in, I guess, a yeshiva's kayetz type setting.
A camp of some sort. We don't know what it is. Look, if this, the norm, I can't possibly answer this question accurately. It's impossible without knowing the social dynamics of the home, the camp, and where the kid is holding, exactly where he is. And the range of experiences that this child may be having would change what I say. So, I could either go through like 6 different options of how to answer and then try and work out where the kid is holding. If I had more information, I'd be able to answer properly. However, based on the question, I could say the following, that if the parents, obviously, if you want your child to stay in camp, you're going to have to stay with the camp policies and rules, or your child will be thrown out of camp. So the first question to decide is, do you want your child to stay in camp? Does your child want to stay in camp? And that's the conversation you need to have with your child. Do you want to stay in camp? If you do, then find someone in camp from the administration of the camp who say it's okay for us to send it to you, in which case we'll gladly send it to you. Just get someone to call us. Make the case to someone from some of the administration in camp, letting us know that it's okay for us to send it to you, and we'll gladly send it to you right away. My hunch is the kid will say, I can't do that, it's not allowed. To which the answer in a normative chinuch situation is, I can't go against the camp rules, I can't do that. I'm so sorry, you'll have to speak to someone. And if your child tells you, well, if you don't send it to me, I'm going to get thrown out of camp, then let your child know you're welcome to come home. We'll give it to you at home. It's clear that the need for this technology is so great that the child will either get themselves thrown out of camp, or if you give it to him in camp, he'll get caught and he'll get thrown out anyway. Manavshach is not going to work. So if it's a camp where this is forbidden, just tell him to come home. Tell him to come home. If this is so important to you, I'll tell you why. It sounds crazy, but if you could tell him, we can't send it to you because it's camp rules, you would have. You wouldn't have the question. The whole question exists because your child wants you to send it to him anyway, even though it's against camp policy, which will get him thrown out. So tell him, just come home. If it's that important, just come home. What you don't want to do is lose your relationship with your child over the technology. Because ultimately, losing your relationship with your child, and I don't mean he's just broigus with you tonight and tomorrow he's fine, and he settles down within a couple of days. I mean, if you lose your relationship with your child over technology, that's potentially worse for your child than having the technology in the first place. So, while I don't have enough information to answer this question properly, I would recommend, You have a conversation with him, and say, if you can get someone from the administration to call us and tell us we can send it to you, we'll gladly send it to you. My guess he'll say that's impossible. To which you say to him, I can't send you the stuff when you know very well it's illegal in the camp. Even if he says it's my problem, tell him just to come home. Just come home then. Just come home. We'll try and work out how to have a nice summer with you. And you can have the technology at home, but I can't give it to you and have you get into a war with the camp. That I can't do.
Okay.
And by the way,
That's
I doubt that answer is actually helpful to the person who asked the question.
We'll
I
find
hope
out
so.
if they
I
if they
hope
send
so.
me,
I
if they
really
send me
hope
an
so.
updated message. Okay.
It's such a complicated question, and it's so nuanced depending on the camp, the parents, the relationship, the background. You know what struggles.
And that's why we always encourage live questions, because then Rabbi Russell can get a little more color on it. But I think there was some foundational pieces in your response just now that I think were important to hear no matter what. Okay, we have another live question. Suri, are you there? Zara, are you there?
Justin, whoever speaks, do you want to pin them to me so I can see them?
Yeah, hold on.
Can I ask a question? I'm here.
Sarah, go ahead. Whoever would like to ask a question, just send me a note in the chat. Go ahead,
I
Sarah.
don't have access. I'm just listening on the phone.
Okay, so what's your name, and then I'll call on you.
Razy.
Razy. Okay, give us a minute, Razy. Okay, go ahead,
sure.
Sarah.
Okay. Rabbi Russell, I have two short questions. The first one is, I've done Fresh Start Fresh, whatever, I keep on getting confused. Fresh Start a few weeks ago. And I'm definitely trying to implement it in my house, especially with my husband. It's been extremely hard. We have a kip in the house as well, and everything is just so when my husband and I argue, and I'm trying to keep my cool, and I'll say something like to the effect of, I'm so sad that you're feeling like that, and I'm trying to just keep it very neutral, and he'll say to me, oh, you're gonna give me the Fresh Start BS, and you're gonna give me that I'm so sad, thing. How do I respond to such, he's kind of feeling, I guess, uncomfortable, and he'll tell me like something like, you went to Fresh Start or something like that, and you're all healed, and I'm not all healed. I'm working on myself. And it's very hurtful coming from my husband. How would I respond to such a back and forth without getting angry?
Okay, so it's a wonderful question. It happens to many, many people. It's certainly not just you. Certainly not just you. And one second, Jochen, can I see her when I speak?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, there
you go. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I appreciate that. No, it's easier for me to see a facial expression when I speak.
Yeah.
I know if it's helpful or not. So thank you. So look, everyone, it's a very common thing. And I think you need to acknowledge to him that I understand that it may seem that way to you. But trust me, one of the things I learned of Fresh Start is that I'm at the very, very beginning of my road to recovery. I'm very far from healed. If you think that I went there and got healed, I would really encourage you to go too. I think you should go and you'd have a wonderful week. If you think I've come back healed, wow. First of all, I'm so touched you would think that. But I think you probably want to go yourself and have the same experience. That's pretty amazing.
I always want to tell him that.
But I would say it with a warm smile and just say, I'm very touched if you think I'm healed. Personally, I'm very far from healed, but you know what I got. And tell him this, what they taught me at Fresh Start more than anything was what they call the road map to recovery. They didn't teach me how to, I'm not recovered, but you know what, I have the road map. And I'd like to practice one of those things I learned with you, if that's okay with you. And he'll say, what? And you'll say, well, I'm going to keep my voice down and I'm going to speak slowly. And I'm going to try always to speak respectfully to you. And let's see if that's helpful. I'm hopeful that'll be helpful to us. What do you think? Three things.
That's a
Speak respectfully, lower your voice, and speak slowly. And tell him that's what I'm willing to offer right now to us. And tell him, I think that will make things better. What do you think?
I hear you.
How about that? Don't get into the subject. Just tell him that, it's clear as day to me. I got the roadmap to recovery, but I'm far from recovered. If you really think I am, then, well, they did a miracle. So I'd recommend you go too and have the same experience, because it's really a fantastic experience. But meanwhile, I'm going to offer you three things. I'm going to offer you not getting reactive when we talk. I'm going to speak slower, and I'm going to speak softer. And I'm hopeful that that will really help us.
It definitely did something to me. I mean, like I'll say, just this past Shabbos, it was like we were having an exchange, and I did, I did not raise my voice. I was calm as a cucumber, I'll say.
Amazing.
And I didn't have that anger in me that I would usually have in the past.
Amazing.
And it was like, why am I not angry? Like, I want to sound angry at him right now because you really hurt me. But I was able to tell him, like, literally, like, like mincha time. I was telling him, I said, I'm not angry, but it really hurt me the way you spoke to me this morning. And that was the end of that. And he came to apologize, but it was like, I
Hey,
was proud
sorry,
of
maybe I
myself.
made a mistake. Maybe you are recovered. Maybe I made
I'm really trying.
Sounds
I had
pretty
one,
amazing.
yeah, I'll pat myself.
Good.
Baruch Hashem. I have one more question. I have two divorcees in my house. One is Baruch Hashem engaged to be married in November. Baruch Hashem, she just got engaged. And my older son, who is 29 years old, he's my kip, and we've been struggling with him for quite a while. He wanted a dog. He's been wanting a dog very, very badly. Now he has some friends that are giving away a dog, whatever. He brought home a dog a couple of weeks ago. Now my other divorcee she claims she's scared of the dog, and she doesn't want it around, and she's very uncomfortable, and this and that. I have asked my son to take the dog back for now until she gets married. I don't know how to juggle these two. I'm really, like my daughter claims that, only his needs are being met and not her needs.
Rabbi Russell, if I could just take serious questions, because we got another similar question, and it could be 29 and 35 or 15 and 17 or 12 and 16. I guess if we could take her question and just broaden a little bit, as a general rule, how do you manage two different personalities amongst your children and create a home of shalom? Is that okay? Sorry if I just add that.
Yeah.
So okay.
So the very simple answer is with great difficulty. That's how you do it. With great difficulty. It is not easy. But probably the ideal, I'll give you the ideal. Almost everyone says, I'm sorry, I can't do that. They won't come. But is to have family meetings together with them all, where you keep things focused and help people understand each other's position. Each one trying to tune into the other's position if you can.
We're trying, but she doesn't want to hear of it. She's like, you're always on his side. You've always taken him. It's him over me. And as much as we try to explain to her that he's mentally, he's not okay. He's not in a good place. Baruch Hashem, he's recovered for a year and a half, but he's not okay mentally. And this dog is really helping him. And she doesn't want to hear of it.
So obviously you're saying that her perception is a little bit correct, because you see that has special needs that you have to attend to. Is that correct? So if that's the case, I would validate her tremendously. And then I would ask her, what can we do to help you in other ways? We're going to try and provide what he needs to be healthy and recovered. We have to, it's our job. At the same time, what can we do for you to compensate, to make it easier for you? Is there something else we can do for you that will help you? We can't not tune into his needs because he needs things to function. But tell me if there's something extra, something else, something we can do that we're not doing in addition to tune into you in a different way that could be helpful to you. Ask her that.
I don't want to take too much time, but I know what she's going to say. She's going to say, get rid of the dog.
Other than getting rid of the dog, what is there we could do to tune into you and help you? Other than that, we're going to do that because his mental health needs it. Tell us what we could do to be. I'm assuming, by the way, he's not got some big ferocious bulldog.
No, she's a cute little Havanese dog,
exactly.
And she's really well behaved.
Yeah, I get it. That's what most people
I love her.
Yeah, we all do. I had three grand dogs. Three granddogs. So I know all about dogs. And I was bitten many times as a kid. I overcame my fear for my kids. So that I overcame it for them. And now I love the dogs. The dogs love me. What can I do? So ask her, other than the dog, what can we do to meet your needs in some special way for you? And just keep saying it to her.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Dr. Russell.
Thank you, Suri. Razy, are you there? If you want to unmute yourself. Hold on, I'm going to ask to unmute. Let's see. I think you're the... Razy, are you able to unmute?
Oh, you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now. Go ahead.
You hear me now? Okay. Yeah. So, Rabbi Russell, I really am living with your book now. It's on my night table. It's my reading material. I breathe it. It's unbelievable. I never read such a book yet. I mean, I read a lot of books on parenting and self-help and whatever. There was one thing that struck out to me, and I would like to understand it better, is religious trauma. It said something, and that really struck out, that when a mother cries excessively by lich benching, and that's exactly what my mother did.
I'm sorry, say that again. I didn't, something was off with my sound. Say it again, religious trauma, say it again.
Yes, so you wrote in the book about a mother crying excessively by lich benching.
Yeah, publicly. Did I say it in the book clearly? Because I know I've said it in the drushes. I don't remember. But publicly crying. You're in the last three sections, right? In the end, towards the end? Go ahead. What's the question? Tell me the question. Go ahead.
So my question is, I would like to understand more what religious trauma is. How else does it, what does it look like?
Religious trauma is when religion was imposed upon a child. Let me say it like that. Religious trauma can occur when religion is imposed upon a child by either the parents, school, Rabbi, teacher, community, in a way that makes the child believe that you don't love me, you love religion.
Oh, okay.
That's what happens.
Right. That's more important than the child.
Yes, correct. And that's why when we do the trauma treatment for recovery with a child, we always prioritize love for the child over the love for the religion. Always. You have to heal. You cannot make a child feel that I love you. My love for you depends on whether you keep religion. Religion matters more to me than you do. I say very clearly.
Okay, I get it, and that's exactly what my mother did.
Yeah, that's what causes it. And to recover from it, you either love yourself more and you learn to love yourself again and accept yourself and realize my mother, in her zeal to try and make me religious, unfortunately didn't realize she was making me feel unloved at the expense of religion. That's probably circumstantial with your mother. Religion, there's nothing in religion. On the contrary, through religious values, Rav Asher Weiss, Shlita, my Rebbe, Rav Asher Weiss, is a Rebbe and a friend. I said in the introduction to the book, pointed out that when it says, Amar Rabbi Akiva, V'avtarecha k'meicha ze klal gadol b'Torah, he asks, what is the difference between a klal gadol, a great principle, and a mitzvah gedolah, a big mitzvah? He says, Rabbi Akiva doesn't say it's a big mitzvah in the Torah. He says it's a klal gadol in the Torah. So he said, what's the difference between a klal gadol and a mitzvah gedolah? You hear the question?
Mm-hmm.
So he said the answer is,
Yeah.
he says the answer is a klal gadol means the entire Torah has to work, shtim. It has to fit with v'avtarecha k'meicha. Love every person as you love yourself. It's not just a big mitzvah. It's much bigger than that. The entire Torah, all the mitzvahs, everything you do should be processed through v'avtarecha k'meicha. Does it shtim? And if it doesn't, you're doing it wrong. A mitzvah chinuch is probably the biggest culprit of this in the world, where everything you do in the name of chinuch has to fit with v'avtarecha k'meicha. And if it doesn't, it's not chinuch. It's just an angry parent, frustrated teacher, but it's not chinuch.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You're very
Thank you,
welcome.
Razy.
Enjoy the book.
Esty, are you there? I think you wanted to ask a question. Esty, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hold on,
Yeah.
let me find you. Let me find you. Where? Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm actually gonna pin you so Rabbi Russell can see you. It'll make it easier. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you are.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so I sent in the question about the technology for my son, and it seems like he already made up his mind that he wants his stuff and he doesn't care if he gets kicked out. And I asked him what his plan is, and he said he doesn't have a plan, but he'll figure it out. And it seems like his phone is just more important to him at this point than anything else.
Yeah. He's probably struggling and has been for a while, correct?
Struggling with what?
Struggling in life.
Yeah, he is. He definitely, yeah.
Struggling. Yeah. I would tell him, Shafila, why don't you just come home and we'll give you your phone and your MP3 player. Why get thrown out? Just come home, we'll give it to you.
And then what do I tell the camp?
Tell the camp he's coming home. Say, unless you know someone in the camp who's going to be willing for him to have a phone there, they're going to throw him out anyway. Why should he get thrown out? Just tell him to come home.
And just tell the camp we're taking him out without any reasons?
Yeah. You're not sending him back. Speak it over with your son first and tell him, listen, Shafila, there's no reason to get thrown out and have another bad feeling. Just come home. It's okay. We'll do something with you. We'll have a fun time. We'll work it out. But if the phone is that important to you, if it's that important, don't get thrown out of the camp. Just come home.
Okay. Fine. Okay. I appreciate it.
By the way, and tell him, say to him, listen, we love you over here. We love you with or without the phone. In camp, they don't. They only love you if you don't have the phone. We love you with or without the phone. Tell it to him straight. Make him feel good about himself.
Okay.
He might change his mind if you say that, by the way. You never know. He
might change his mind after this, but...
He might. Okay. But tell him, we love you both ways, with or without the phone. I'm afraid the camp can't. So we'll be happy. If you really need the phone that bad, come home, Shafila. We'll have a good time.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Okay, Rabbi Russell, another question that came in that, I think we can all identify with. I mean, or at least if you're on this healing journey with younger children, is oftentimes when you start this journey, the way you parent your children is vastly different. And the older children sometimes notice that the way you're treating the younger children is very different than the way you treated them, and sometimes they decide to take it upon themselves to be a strong force and the disciplinarian. How does one speak to their older children about this shift and um, and to basically tell them, hey, pipe down? And of course, the next question is, well, you didn't let me do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say pipe down.
I know. So that's why we're asking the question.
I would start in the other direction. You have to validate it. This is as old as the hills. This has been going on ever since Adam Rishon. The fact is, we all of us as parents were very idealistic when we first had our first kids, and we knew almost zero about parenting. So over the years we mellow with our kids, and time has changed where we tolerate, the community, society, tolerate more with younger kids, obviously, as the generations go by, than with the older kids. This is the way of the world. So we have to tell our kids, this is the nature of the world. It's not about our home. It's all homes. Parents always mellow. I wish we had known when we were bringing you up what we know now. Besides us, parents, we're much wiser now than we were when we started off on our journey. And for some reason, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put you first, your neshamas first in the family, and not last in the family. Nevertheless, we're going to try and parent the kids, all of the kids, according to what they need, not according to some shita, some approach that may have worked, 10 years ago, but may not work quite as well right now. So the reality is, all of you, when you get older, God willing, and you're all married, you'll sit around the table, Mitzvah Hashem, on Yantav, and you'll all tell over stories how Ma and Ta, we let the younger ones get away with everything, and the younger ones will laugh about it, and the older ones will say they were so strict with us, and you'll tell over these stories around the table. This is the way of the world. However, if there's anything you think we can do to make it easier for you, let us know. But we're definitely not going to change our parenting style and give our younger kids the same kind of strict discipline we gave to our older kids, because we've grown up, we've matured, we've mellowed, and we're different, and we're trying to give the kids what they need now. Does that make any sense?
That definitely does. And when they go ahead and do decide to discipline their sibling,
we step between them with confidence, authority, not anger, just confidence and authority, if we can. We step between them and we let them know, I'm in charge, I'm the parent, and I'm going to do it the way I think is right for this child. Even though the kids, you're crazy, you're letting them get away with everything, you never let us do that. You say, yes, times have changed. Times have changed.
Oh.
There's I say a short quote on this that's so profound. Sure. So it says in Hazinu, the pasuk says, Schar Yemos Olam, remember the days of old, Binu Shnois Tovado, understand the years of every generation. Shalavicha v'yagidcha, ask your father, he'll tell you. Skeinecha v'yomerlach, your Zayda, the grandparents, they'll say it to you too. Listen to this. What does it mean? Remember the days of old. We should bring our children up derech Yisrael Saba, the way, the traditions of Klal Yisrael, to bring up our children to Torah mitzvahs. We should always try and adhere to that in the most optimum way to help them grow up as healthy people, happy people, keeping Torah mitzvahs. Then it continues, Binu Shnois Tovado. What's the hemshech? What does it mean? So the Bali Musa and the Bali Chassid, they learn this is about chinuch, teaching us about chinuch. So what's the hemshech? I say like this, Binu is Lashon Havdalah, is a language of separation, Bein Zeh Lezeh. Binu, understand by separation. Shnois is not years, it means the shinuyim, the changes. Binu, Shnois, Dor V'Dor. Understand the subtle changes of every generation, because every generation changes. Music changes over the generations. I remember when we started off, David Werdiger was like the wonderful music, and Mordechai ben David was already pop music. Today, Mordechai ben David is old fogey music, and today, who knows what they're listening to today. The same thing with hairstyles and color of hats and everything else. It all changes over the generations. So, we try to bring them up in traditional way. Binu, understand and separate, shnois, the subtle shinuyim and changes, dor v'dor, of every generation. We have to allow the times to change and change our parenting to attune with the changes in the circumstances and the years and the generation. If you don't believe me, Shala vicha v'yagidcha, ask your father, he'll tell you. He had to come to terms with it too. Skeinecha v'yomerlach, and the Zayda for sure will say it to you. But there's one difference. Listen to this. Shala vicha v'yagidcha. Yagidcha is Lashon Haggadah. It's a hard Lashon. Yagidcha. Your father will tell you, but he's having a hard time with it. Skeinecha v'yomerlach. Yomer is soft. The Zayd will say, don't worry, Shefela. It's all going to work out. I've watched this already a few generations. You're all going to be fine. Skeinecha v'yomerlach. Allow the generations' subtle changes to happen. And tell this to your children.
Wow. That is a fantastic work to a wonderful answer. Thank you. Okay, we are going to wind down because I know we're keeping you late. We're going to be respectful, but Chaya, are you there? I think you wanted to ask a live question. Go ahead, Chaya.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
I wanted to ask, I was in Fresh Start a few weeks ago, and yeah, thank you so much for all of this. It's really amazing to listen to. What would you say is the role of a Rav versus a mentor in regards to chinuch? Like, I would ask my Rav certain things, but I don't feel like he would be able to guide me like on values. Is it important to have a mentor as well, like someone who can guide you, maybe who knows your kids a bit better, who understands your situation a bit better, or is a Rav enough for that? Like, I'm just unclear about the role of a Rav in guiding.
It's a fascinating question, and it changes. There's no real answer because there are many Rabbanim who can do a profoundly good job and do every day of guiding families like a mentor would. And then there are Rabbanim who are very involved with like psak halacha and teaching, and they're not so involved in the family's life, in the families of their kehillah, in which case you would need a mentor more. You have to attune yourself. You know, it's not like a Rav or a mentor. What you need is someone who knows your family well, who understands the dynamics. It's like the question I said in the answer at the beginning. The mentor or Rav have to understand the dynamics of the community you live in. They have to understand the culture, dynamics, what's the norms of the community, and spend time learning your family, understanding the uniqueness of your family, what your family needs are. Sometimes a Rav has time to do that. Frequently they don't, and they'll be honest about it. There are some Rabbanim who actually do have the time, they do, and they can put the investment into doing both and understanding both. If not, a more traditional Rav who's involved with too many things and teaching and psak halacha will probably be happy if you find a family mentor who understands the community and understands you. You really have to have someone who gets you, not just giving you sheeters.
I just sometimes so my Rob is very, he knows me and he knows my kids and he gives very spot on advice. I sometimes find I need to run things by someone else who has maybe more, I don't know, maybe I want his opinion as well, but then I always feel like I should be running it by my Rob as well, just to make sure it's in line with Das Torah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being clear.
You are, and ideally do both and share and let them both know they both exist and you're seeking. Let them both know, don't be shy about it. And,
so to have a blend is okay.
Yes, exactly.
To go and ask a mentor something and then to run it by my Rob afterwards, to make sure it's, okay.
Pretty sure, but sometimes they're not available. Rob is not available. Mentor, you need someone, and I would just make sure they both know each other.
Mhm. Okay, got that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay. Okay, Rabbi Russell, one last question that came in via message, and then we're going to wind it down. My 10-year-old son started to wear sports clothing during the summer. This is accepted in our frum community. My 13-year-old daughter, however, is saying that it's goyish.
Does the 13-year-old daughter have a mentor-ess? Someone to be her mentor? Because it sounds like she needs it. She needs help. You know, because the presumption I have is the parents have explained to the 13-year-old daughter that it's not goyish, it's normal, and it's perfectly acceptable in our community. There's something going on inside her with her own struggles or issues. If she's finding it impossible to embrace the parents who are telling her it's perfectly normal, there's something going on. This is not about the clothes, but what you're watching is a symptom of something bothering her inside. And I wouldn't go and say to her, hey, what's bothering you inside that you can't deal with this question? I think this girl needs a mentor, and it sounds like something's off.
I'm gonna bring the person who asked the question on live. Go ahead.
Hi.
Go ahead.
My daughter wants to know, why is that different than like the Goyim, that they didn't change what they wore in Mitzrayim? It says that they didn't switch their clothing. She wants to know how this putting on the sports is not Goyish, like that it's accepted, and a lot of things are acceptable, but that she's saying sometimes there were times that it was acceptable and it wasn't really okay that they followed along.
See, there's something that I'm hearing something, because if you really took that question at face value, then we should all be dressing in robes with funny turbans like we were in Mitzrayim. We shouldn't have changed. We should be wearing the same clothes throughout history and not be mishani levushim. We've always changed our clothes to accommodate the various norms around us. The Hasidim very makpid on Hasidic clothes to distinguish themselves. The Litvische world has always gone along more or less with respectable clothes of that which is around them. There's something I'm feeling inside this question.
I know she has a lot of healing and stuff that she needs to do, that she didn't start her journey yet. But
Yes, there you go.
but what do I say right now?
I'm saying this question indicates she needs more healing. And you can't, if you would answer this question, chances are she's not here. She's not, whatever you say, the answer, she'll come back, yes, but.
So not to get into conversation with her.
Doesn't matter what you say, she'll say, yeah, but. And she'll come back with something else, which tells you, which is what I heard with the question initially, there's something else bothering her, and I would make sure she's got a mentor or a therapist to start helping her sort out what's going on inside her. Her question is not about clothing. She's struggling with her whole life in her internal world. There's something off, and that's what she's struggling with.
Okay, is it the time to explain what's the difference between changing the clothing that was told that we didn't change our clothing in the time of Mitzrayim and now, or it's not?
Yeah, it's not changing our clothing. So if it's the norm of the community, that's not called changing your clothing.
But there's some things that are called Goyish clothing. And what differentiates if it's called Goyish or not?
Yeah, that's going to change by every single community. If a miyat hamotzi, that means even a small amount, but a large group, even if they're the miyat of the community of Frum Yidden dress a certain way, that's now considered normal within a community. It wouldn't be normal for another community, but it would be normal for that community.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rabbi Russell.
How about a quick
vote?
Quick vote, would you mind? It just occurred to me
please.
a second. Okay, so we just started the 3 weeks, right? And we're going to come up at the end of the 3 weeks, Shabbos Chazayin, Tishbav, it's always the same thing. First of all, I have this personal sort of vendetta against the popular idea. And the popular idea is, seeing as we lost the Beis HaMikdash because of Sinas Chinam, so we see signs all over the place. Let's practice Ahavas Chinam. That will bring back the Beis HaMikdash. We need Ahavas Chinam. So here's my problem with that. We have a mitzvah in the Torah, v'ahavta recha kamecha. We have to love each other all the time. There's no avos chinam. There's no such thing as loving for no reason. We should love each other because our mitzvah in the Torah, and we should all see that every person is Tzelem Elokim. Every single person, however much they're struggling, deep down has a Tzelem Elokim of some sort, and we should learn to love each other. With that said, how do we do that? How do we look at ourselves in a way that we can love ourselves and therefore love each other? So we come to Shabbos Chazoin, and in the parsha of Shabbos Chazoin, the parsha before Tisha B'Av, so Nesiv Shalom brings out this amazing point, this beautiful point. Chazoin, a vision, Chazon Yeshayahu, the vision of Yeshayahu. A vision, Chazon, the word Chazon always means something positive. And here, Yeshayahu is talking about the Chorban Bayis. So how does he start with the word Chazon if we're talking about the destruction when Chazon refers to something positive? You hear the question? So the answer is like this. Suggests the Nesiv Shalom that the pasuk says at the beginning of the Haftarah, Bonim Godalti V'Ramamti Ve'im Pashubi. I had children, Bonim Godalti, I brought them up. V'Ramamti, I lifted up my children, the Yiddish children, Bnei Yisrael, Yiddish Kinder, I lifted them up, I brought them up. Ve'im Pashubi, and they were Poshea, they rebelled against me. So says the Nesiv Shalom, you see, even though Klal Yisrael rebelled against Hashem, the Navi refers to them as Bonim, my children. Bonim Gadalti B'Ramamti, they're still my children. The greatest limit we have from these 3 weeks that will bring the Beis HaMikdash is that we look at ourselves and we look at our children, that even though Hein Pashubi, even though we're not perfect, we're not exactly perfect, not we're perfect, and not our children are perfect, but Hashem still calls us His children. And so we should call ourselves and our children also with love and chiba, our children. And if we have that love for ourselves and that love for our children, then we're indeed going to bring the Beis HaMikdash back. This is the focus of the 3 weeks. Just as Hashem loves us even when we're rebellious, so we need to love ourselves even when we're rebellious, and certainly love our children and grant them that love when they're rebellious against us. Let's turn this into a time of true love for each other, and maybe with that we'll bring Mashiach. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Rabbi Russell, for joining us all the way from Eretz Yisrael. Thank you to our alumni from all over the world. Keep doing the work. Keep spreading the love. And Eretz Hashem will continue to all see healing in our personal lives and in our families. And we will, Eretz Hashem, see you again in a couple of weeks for our next alumni webinar. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.